What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings on Bally Sports Networks. Buckle up for 1 hour of DFS and betting advice coming your way. Our panel of DraftKings experts are going to give you all their picks for Week 18. We also have some special guests joining the program, including former Giants linebacker Mark Herzlich. That's going to be exciting. And a very special $1 million winner from Week 17. And speaking of $1 million, one more week of the NFL season means one more week to crown a millionaire here on DraftKings. Take your shot at our $1 million top prize in Week 18 by entering our NFL $3 million Fantasy Football Millionaire Contest. It only costs $20 per entry, and you still have just under an hour to get those lineups in. And big news yesterday, mobile and online sports betting is now live in New York State. Yeah. That's right, DraftKings becomes one of the first operators in the Empire State just in time for the NFL playoffs. Look at us. You can download the app and check out all the awesome new promotions we're running for first-time users in New York. Make sure you do that right now. All right, it's time to toss it over to my award-winning co-host, Dog Dad of the Year, Emerson Lotzia.
Yeah! I'll take that.
Is that the award you won?
I won an award like 13 years ago. It's not a big deal.
What was it for?
It was an AP Sports Award. Okay, here we go.
Wow, congrats.
Guys, thank you for being here so much. I'm very excited for this. Reed T. Fowler, Julian Edlow, Jeff Ulrich in the A1 today. Oh my God, look at you.
Week 18.
Dude, great to have you here. Okay, so this is Early Edge. You guys are going to hook us up with your initial thoughts on your favorite bets of the day. Jeff, I'm a gentleman. I'm going to let you go first since you are new here. What is your favorite bet of the day, dude?
Appreciate that, fellow Springer Spaniel father. I'm going to go to the player props this week, and I just can't overlook this. Talk about this spot enough. It's Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears, and I like going over his total. It's moved up from 53.5. 0.5 to 56.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, but I still like going over. Mooney's averaging 10 targets over his last 4 games. The last time he played with Andy Dalton, 13 targets. And that was in a game where the Bears were up 14-0 after 5 minutes. This guy's getting peppered by Andy Dalton with targets. And now he's playing the Minnesota Vikings. I can't overstate enough how bad the Minnesota Vikings pass defense is. Last 2 wide receiver ones they faced has gone for over 10 catches and 100 yards. Mooney, again, he's just a guy who gets open. He's a guy who goes downfield. And I like taking the over on his receiving prop because he's getting these targets, and they're not just the short yardage targets. He's getting them downfield as well. So he could realistically, even if it's a bad day, he could hit this on a couple catches for us. I think this total is just way too low. You want something against the spread, I'll throw out Pittsburgh plus 3.5 here. Pittsburgh just has dominated in the division since 2017. They're 18-9 straight up there. But I like this player prop. I like going over on everything Darnell Mooney today.
Yeah, guys, 3 of his last 4 games with the Red Rocket, he's actually exceeded this prop, Reed.
Yeah, and if you take a look at his target share over the last 2 weeks, like Jeff is mentioning, it's 31 to 32% of the team targets. And even if it's even if Justin Fields was in, Mooney has been that guy, right? It's been him, Cole Kmet. That's really their modus operandi if it's not David Montgomery. So you do like that. He's getting work on 3rd and 4th down targets, end zone targets. He had 25% of those end zone targets, so not just the yards, it's also that PPR scoring.
And Jules, Jeff, I can't remember if you mentioned or not because you made so many incredible points, but Minnesota's defense has given up like the most receiving yards here per game to wide receivers.
He alluded to it.
Okay, so I said it. He alluded. I said it. And you're going to go. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, look, right? it's Week 18. How can you not go to the player prop field like Jeff said? And funny enough, he goes, "Oh, you want a side? I would lean to Pittsburgh. Like if I'm going with the side today, I'd probably lean to Baltimore." And we're going head-to-head there. Like, that's probably why we're not going to talk about many sides in this segment when you have these player props here. And we're going to touch heavily on, like, the incentivized and record-breaking player props that we have available in Week 18. But if I'm not going there, like, rather than bet on a guy in a game that means something more, I'd rather go to these meaningless games like a Chicago, Minnesota, like Jeff said, a guy that's been on a good roll and has no reason to stop trying this week. So yeah, it's a good matchup. It's a game where the pressure is kind of off. You would assume things would keep rolling. It all gels together. I'm definitely not backing the under on a guy like Mooney in this spot.
And Mooney, since last year, has been a guy who just gets a ton of air yards too. Look, Dalton isn't a guy who throws it deep much.
Yep.
But at the same time, he is accurate 47% of the air yards went to Mooney last week. Guy had 31% targets per route run. That is massive.
He's 16th in air yards among all receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, Emerson's got numbers all over the place.
I'm bringing it today. Ravens, by the way, 3-point favorites at home now. And also, if you're paying attention to that game, Lamar Jackson has been ruled out once again today. Let's see, who's going to a player prop? You're also going to a player prop today, right?
I am. So, as mentioned, there's the normal player prop tabs, and you will see the DK Promotions tab.
Okay.
The DK Promotions tab has specifically incentive-driven numbers. You're going to see a lot of weird numbers in there. They all mean something.
Yep.
So we go to those, you got record breakers, Gary V's special, incentive week specials. Stephon Diggs, his receptions is 6.5 in player props. It's 5.5 here. I'm laying the minus 150 with the 5.5, no question. I'm not touching 6.5. Paying the juice. I think it's the juiciest prop I've given out on this show in 18 weeks.
Wow.
However, the reason this is my best bet, the reason I have no hesitation to lay it, if Stephon Diggs, who has 94 receptions, gets to 100 this season, 6 today, $1.55 million coming his way. Stephon Diggs will take Josh Allen out to a very nice dinner of buffalo wings or whatever they may want.
That's buffalo wings,
after achieving this bonus. It's the Jets. The matchup is there. Last time he played the Jets, 8 grabs, $162, and a touchdown on 13 targets. The players know these incentives. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are very aware that if he catches the ball 6 times today, he gets over $1.5 million. If they're blowing the Jets out and there's a 5 for 70 line, you best believe that Stephon Diggs is catching a screen pass, whether he wants to run it out of bounds for a yard or take it to the house. It doesn't matter. It kind of matters because 231 yards will get him another $1.5 million, but that's a lot to ask for. We're playing it safe. Stephon Diggs.
You were excited about that before the show.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
230
We got some other members of the team maybe holding cameras over here that are interested in laying the plus 4,000 on Stephon Diggs' yardage. Yeah. But I'm going to receptions. Okay. It's my best bet of the week, and the matchup is very, very helpful.
Jeff, you wouldn't normally be taking a prop that is juiced up that much.
No, I mean in certain spots, yes, but you're right. Like with the odds that were being given here, I mean, in a normal week, you'd say, well, I mean, it's just too short. You may even be thinking about taking the other side because you're getting good plus odds. But like, Julian's right. I mean, there's no chance these two guys haven't discussed. And I'm talking about Josh Allen and Steph Diggs. The fact that we're 6 receptions away, and I also think you just look at the Buffalo Bills as a franchise. Sean McDermott, the players like this guy. Like he's a player's coach. It's not like he's going to drag Steph Diggs off the field with 5 catches if they're up by 21. I think you'll probably see a scenario where Diggs gets peppered with like 5 targets right off the bat on the first drive, and they just try and get this out of the way. Yeah. This one's too within reach not to take the over here. And I think that the odds you're being given are actually quite good considering the situation, because if we're talking about it here and we know about it, the players are talking about it and they know about it. There's too much money on the line for them not to be.
Yeah,
the minus 150 is just not bad odds. You're looking at 6.5 is minus 115 to go over, and that reception is one that clearly he could get the 6 and then get pulled. So why would you go there when you can go to the 5.5? I thought this would be more like minus 200. To be honest.
So that's where I agree with Jeff there, because I feel like they'll go to him maybe early and often, try to get it out of the way, because you have to think Buffalo's almost a 16-point favorite here. So let's just say they do get up big time early on. They're going to rest this. They're going to rest their starters.
Yeah, because it's much more than just getting him his incentive, right? Like, I know we all want him to do it.
They need to win the AFC East today.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, he's gone over 5.5 receptions 9 times this season. He's 6-10 hitting his prop. So, like that's the only thing. But no, he's going to get it. He's going to get it.
Okay, let's throw out a scenario, too. Like, the Jets didn't play that bad last week, too. There is a scenario where they keep this game competitive, and then Steph Diggs just needs to play, right? So there's multiple scenarios where this could work out. I just think that Julian's right. Like, the odds, I think, should be closer to minus 200 as well. It's a good prop.
That's right.
Within the normal flow of the game, the last time these two teams played, it was 13 targets, 8 receptions. So.
Yep, needed some Tom Brady last-second magic last week to knock him off here. Reed, you're not going with a player prop today for your favorite
No,
prop.
I knew both of these guys would probably go with props because it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to do a little bit of parody here with this. I'm going San Francisco team total over 20.5. I liked it at 19.5 when it was lower, obviously, but I like it all the way up to 23. I like this team to go at least to score probably around 24 points. Both of these teams have something to play for. They're putting up an average guess what, of 24 points over the last 5 games. We know on Monday night in Week 10 they put up 31. Not going to say that's going to happen this time around, but they have the offensive line, San Francisco does, to mitigate a little bit of what Aaron Donald does. Jimmy G is starting, right? Trey Lance can be used, and we saw that he is a dynamic runner, obviously, again, against Houston. But I do like this matchup. San Francisco, look, the NFC West, too, if you want to take a side, taking the dogs hasn't been a bad strategy, although I do think the Rams win this game. I just like both of these teams to score a lot of points. We know that the Rams have something to play for too, guys. They have division title on the line and cup with his incentives. So give me over 20.5 San Francisco at minus 150.
Yeah, it's a must-win for the 49ers. Yeah. And Jeff, only the 49ers only missed hitting over 20.5 points twice in the past 10 games.
Yeah, they're. I mean, obviously they're a good offense. Kyle Shanahan run offense, and I think you look deeper into this. Again, like the Rams are 5-0 against the 49ers are 5-0 against the Rams over the last 5 meetings. Like Kyle Shanahan has not had issues figuring out how to move the ball against Sean McVay. I think that at 20.5, you'd probably obviously prefer to get like the 19.5 just because the 20 is a pretty solid number as well. But I'm bullish on it at over 20.5 as well. I think that the Rams could easily win this game. You could see like a 24-21 game, but who has held the San Francisco offense down lately? Like not many people. And I know Jimmy G is a little bit banged up, but everybody else on this team is healthy. Like Deebo Samuel is healthy. They can run the ball with him. Eli Mitchell's going to play. George Kittle's out there. I'd be pretty shocked if San Francisco didn't put up 21, 23 points here. And again, Reed's right. Like maybe they don't win the game, but I think that going over on the team total here is something I'd be interested in as well.
You take a look at the 49ers secondary as well. They're banged up, so the Rams can put up a lot of points.
Yep.
Ergo.
Jules, do you feel better taking the over on this with Jimmy G under center?
I do. I think he's better for the offense right now than Trey Lance. And I think that we saw that in the spread this week. It opened 6.5, gets bet down to 3.5. That's because all signs were pointing to Jimmy G, and now we see that's the way it is. So, yeah, Jeff mentioned the matchup individually, Rams versus Niners, how good it's been for San Francisco. 31 points, rather, in the first time on Monday Night Football when these two teams matched up. Emerson, you mentioned it's gone over 80% the last 10 weeks. This is an over or a pass for me.
Gentlemen, thank you. That was awesome. Congrats, Jeff, again on cracking the A block. We are just getting started here on Valley Sports Networks because coming up, Julian did the research. Yeah, Julian actually worked. He's going to share some of his favorite value plays on this wild Week 18 slate. Plus, we're going to be joined by a very special guest, one of the top fantasy players on the entire planet. His super secret strategy that helped him win $1 million on DraftKings last week, which will no longer be a secret, so stick around. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And today, new customers can bet $5 on their team to win, and if they do, you walk away with $200. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code SWEAT when you sign up.
Welcome back to The Sweat on Valley Sports Networks. Check this out. So last week, Bengals receiver Jamar Chase had one of the best DraftKings fantasy performances in recent memory. 58.6 DK fantasy points thanks to 266 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs. That lands in the top 3 performances of the last 5 years, just behind Tyreek Hill and Alvin Kamara last year. All right, we'll see how he follows it up this week as he's trying to lock up that Rookie of the Year honor. Right now, Julian Edlow is going to help you find this week's Jamar Chase by looking at some players who could return that great value in Week 18 in a segment we are calling Hidden Jewels. Take it away, Julian.
Thank you, Jessica. It only took us 18 weeks, but here we are with our favorite segment, Hidden Jewels. I don't know why we axed it for 17 weeks, but we made the right call in Week 18. So we're going to start with the quarterback position, try and find you a guy that's going to make you a little bit of money that maybe is off everyone else's radar. And to do so, we're going to scroll way down to Mr. Taylor Heineke of the Washington football team. We're looking at his game log here. Not much to say. He hasn't been very good lately, which is probably why he's a hidden jewel that most people are going to avoid. However, guess who's lined up for Week 18? None other than the New York Football Giants, who have been relatively atrocious lately in terms of defending the quarterback position and giving and letting up points. So he went over 20 DraftKings points the last time in this matchup. Washington has said, even though it's not really playing for anything, that it wants to finish the season strong for some of these younger guys and play for a Week 18 win. So why not go out there and sling it in a game that means nothing? Taylor Heineke, I think this is a guy that can get you 20-plus DraftKings points that is going to have virtually no ownership. Who's going? We're going Pierce? Jeff? Jeff's going. Sorry. Jeff, tell me why I'm wrong.
That's okay. It's all good. I mean, I was just making sure that you were done.
I'm done.
Look, I don't absolutely hate this. The worry is it's the Giants, like you said. Like, this game could be 20-3 by halftime, and then Antonio Gibson takes like 20 touches in the second half, and Taylor Heineke just doesn't do much. For me, I would rather pivot to a guy like Andy Dalton. I mentioned the spot for the Bears. I think that Bears-Vikings game is going to be way more competitive, and you've got a Minnesota Vikings defense that allowed the 6th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks already this year. Andy Dalton, yeah, he's Andy Dalton. But, I mean, he's playing for a contract next year, too. It's kind of why I don't hate the Heineke play. I think you're going to see a big effort from some of these quarterbacks like Dalton and Heineke. But I would just prefer to go to the game with Chicago, Minnesota. Going to be closer, a little bit bigger point total as well. And I think there's just more shootout potential with Andy Dalton.
Jeff and I are probably the worst people to put in this segment because we love garbage plays or hidden jewels, if you want to call them that.
We're either the best or the worst.
We've played Heineke a lot this year, and it hasn't worked, so I've had to quit him cold turkey. I weaned myself off with a little Tua. That didn't work as well. So now I'm going with some Jordan Love. I mean, if we're going to play another hidden jewel or garbage play, why not Jordan Love on a good team, in a good matchup? There are questions about how much he's going to play. He doesn't even have a player prop at the moment at DK Sportsbook, but there's a lot of upside with Jordan Love, and I think most people are going to be even more afraid to play him than Taylor Heineke.
All right, well, you think I'm dumb for playing Taylor Heineke. Pierce is playing a guy that's probably not even starting, so great. All right, we're going to the running back position, and we're going way down here. We're getting our hands dirty. We're getting a little gross. Where is my dude? Man, see, I told you we're scrolling. Rex Burkhead right here, $5,200. Look, the numbers on him, nothing special, but he's been getting the touches lately. You look at those touches, 22 plus in some of these games. Now, he's going up against a Tennessee team that ranks number 1 in DraftKings points allowed to the running back position. However, in terms of volume, he got 18 carries the last time these two teams met, actually a Houston win. Somehow only turned it into 40 yards. I'm banking on him doing more with the volume in this game. And if you want to bank on guys doing more, let's talk about incentives. Rex Burkhead has incentives for over 100, a little over 100 combined rushing and receiving yards to get paid out pretty well here. So we'll see if Houston allows him the volume to get there, but it's on everybody's minds. He knows that. He's going to be working a little harder. I like Rex Burkhead at $5,200 to kind of surprise some people and have a game. Pierce, why don't you pick some guy that's not even playing today and go with him instead?
Rex probably should remain hidden. But, I mean, we're talking about incentives. I can understand Buffalo helping out their guy, Steph Diggs, get his incentives, but I don't know if Houston is necessarily, this benevolent team that's going to want to help out Rex Burkhead, earn a couple more bucks.
Money in Houston pays the same way as Buffalo. It's worth the same.
Spend a couple more bucks and go up to Donta Foreman, who is a better running back with a better line on a better team, in a better matchup with better coaching staff. I mean, everything lines up for him. He's scored 14 or more fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games. The one time he missed, it was on a short week. He was injured, and half of the offensive line was out in that game. He's gone for over 100 yards in 3 games. He's got the same amount of volume as Burkhead. Maybe he'll have a little bit more ownership, but he's much safer.
Yeah, look, I mean, I got to side with Pierce here, Julian. We were kind of soft on you in the first one, but this one's kind of terrible. I mean, it's 2022,
They're hidden, guys. They're
and
hidden.
Rex Burkhead is a leading running back in the NFL. Let's just celebrate. We can celebrate that for a bit, but Houston just signed this guy to an extension. I don't know if they're going to be so motivated to be like, here's more money, Rex Burkhead. And realistically, the reason why I really don't like this, Tennessee's been one of the best rush defenses over the last 3 or 4 games. Like, they have really shut down some opposing running backs here. I like going to Eli Mitchell. I think you got to pay up a little bit. Kind of like Pierce. You got to go for someone with some juice left in their legs. Eli Mitchell, over 21 carries in each of his last 4 starts. This is a do-or-die situation. Kyle Shanahan loves this guy. He is going to ride him in this game. And look, I know he's got a tough matchup too, but I will take the starting running back in the Kyle Shanahan scheme who's getting 20 touches over Sexy Rexy this week.
All right, fine. We're going to wide receiver. We're going way down the board, as usual, because he's hidden. $4,300. Marvin Jones Jr., what can go wrong? Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Laquan Treadwell has been the guy recently for Trevor Lawrence, not Marvin Jones. However, I think, Jacksonville's supposed to be down in this game. They're going to air it out. Jones started the season well. He's mixed in some games here and there. And guess where we're going for the reason that's going to put him over the top. I like him anyway. Incentives. Marvin Jones needs 4, not that many, 4 to get $500,000. He's going to get those 4 from Trevor Lawrence. Now, 4 receptions isn't necessarily going to give you a big fantasy day. However, those targets, I expect him to get mixed in there, maybe catch a long one. That'll be the difference maker here. Marvin Jones, we're digging very deep. Jeff, go ahead. I'm sure that you hate this and you have somebody better.
You know what, Julian? I was hard on you, but just like a good motivator, you gotta mix in the good comments with the bad. We're gonna create a little sandwich here. I like
sandwiches.
4,300. He's cheap. What has Marvin Jones done throughout his career? Well, he's shown that he'll just go bad game, like 3 touchdowns. And again, I mean, you have a division game. The Jags going to be out there trying to pull the upset. It's actually a pretty good matchup. I mean, we have seen the Indianapolis Colts secondary get burned quite a bit. I'm going to throw out Tyler Lockett as a name you might want to, if you have a little bit more cash you can pay up for. He's just burned the Arizona Cardinals so many times over the last couple of seasons. Went over for 200 yards and like 15 catches against them last year. Everyone's going to the DK Metcalf side because he scored 3 touchdowns last week. I think it's a perfect situation with the Seahawks, big underdogs there as well. So if you have a little bit more cash, pay up for Lockett. But I do actually really like this Marvin Jones call.
Not only is this a really great segment that we should have been doing all season, but this should be its own spin-off show where Julian just gives us some wild, crazy plays for a half an hour.
Just struggles with the teleprompter or whatever he's using there for like.
You got to do a lot of scrolling to get to 4,300 at wide receiver.
Jones is out there. I think you go with a little bit safer play of Gabriel Davis. That's Steve Buchanan's value play of the week, and Emmanuel Sanders is doubtful. Gabriel Davis is getting the red zone targets. Buffalo is projected to score plenty of points in an easy matchup. We know they don't run the ball very often. He has the 5th best odds on the team to score a touchdown. Jones isn't crazy, but I think I'd just be a little bit safer with Gabe Davis.
If it's Steve Buchanan's value play of the week, I want absolutely no part of that. So I'm glad I went where I did. All right, at tight end, we're going to go, nope. Spin move. Most expensive guy on the board. We talk all year about how tight end is a punt position play. Guess what? I'm saving all that money so that I can spend $7,500 on Mark Andrews. Now, why is he hidden? I don't even think his fantastic numbers tell the story about how good of a spot Mark Andrews is in this game. He's had his best games with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. We're talking peppered with targets, double digits all the games. When he only had 6 last week, he still caught them all and almost at 100 yards. He's put up his best numbers with Huntley. Now we want to talk incentives here or record breakers. Mark Andrews needs 141 receiving yards to break the all-time tight end record. Take it from Travis Kelce. You can bet on that on DK Sportsbook. Sprinkle a little bit, plus 1,200 for him to do so. He's going to do it. So we're going to play him here because Mark Andrews is going to have something like 10 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you're going to pay for the most expensive tight end on the board. Pierce, are you with me?
Yeah, I like spinning up a tight end this week with all that value there. But my guy that I probably will pivot to is also hidden. He's been hidden for the last 3 weeks. People are worried, what's going on with Arizona? Well, one of the things that's going on that people aren't noticing is Zach Ertz is playing really well with 9 targets or more in his last 3 games. He's building a rapport with Kyler Murray. I would imagine they're going to continue to feed targets to him going into the playoffs because he's going to be one of their big, hopes to make a run in the playoffs. And he's got a very soft matchup against Seattle. But you're right, spinning up a tight end is probably the best way to go this week.
I like both those targets. I mean, the problem with Andrews, and just the thing I worry about, is the last time he faced Pittsburgh, he went 4 for 9 with like 50 yards. And okay, there's the record there, but how meaningful is this record in an 18-game season? I don't know if it's meaningful enough that Baltimore is just going to go out there and be like, hey, we just got to throw to Mark Andrews every down. And the Pittsburgh pass rush here, I think it could create real problems today. Like, I could see TJ Watt dominating this game, who, by the way, just needs like a sack and a half or something to break the record as well. So I'm not as bullish on Andrews. I would probably prefer Ertz if you're going to pay up. But, I mean, I don't know how we can do a tight end segment with Pierce and I without mentioning a guy under 3K. Brevin Jordan of the Houston Texans. Yeah, look him up. He exists. He's a real player. He's played over 50% of the snaps. He leads the Houston Texans tight end core over the last 5 weeks in targets. He's essentially just second in targets behind Brandon Cooks on the Houston Texans. And again, you look at this game, I mean, if I don't like Rex Burkhead, well, that probably means the Houston Texans are going to be passing a lot late into this game, which I do think they're going to be. The Tennessee secondary is certainly capable of giving up some targets. I think Brevin Jordan at 2,700 has a good chance to see 5-6 catches here really pay off at 2,700.
All right, well, I don't know who that is, Jeff, so I don't really have a comeback prepared for you. But you did mention...
I would like to see you find him in there. So come on, we got 5
He's not even on the board. He's not even available. You just made up a player. But you did mention TJ Watt in the sacks. So if you don't like playing that player prop, record-breaking wise, on Mark Andrews, guess what you can bet on DK Sportsbook for incentives? TJ Watt, minus 130 for over 1.5 sacks. Yes, you can bet on all of these incentives. There's always a bet to make. Even if you don't like Andrews, you can just pivot and play something else. All right, well, as the guys mentioned, that was Hidden Jewels. We should have been doing it for 17 weeks. We did it for 1. It'll probably be back, as Pierce said, for about 30 minutes long each of these next playoff weeks. So you have that to look forward to. And coming up next, what you have to look forward to is Emerson Lotzia talking to a guy that hit it very big on the Week 17 slate. Let's hear from him and see how you can make some money.
All right, man. That sounds like a game plan, dude. Yeah, each week we are making people millionaires on DraftKings, but last week was particularly special for one of our favorite longtime users. You were looking at the Week 17 lineup of Alex Baker, a.k.a. Awesemo, one of the top fantasy players in the world. So Alex finally getting that monkey off his back, taking down one of DraftKings Millionaire contests, riding the Seahawks stack to victory in our $4.5 million main event Millie Maker contest last week. Bold choices by a bold man. And that man joins us now, Alex Baker, a.k.a. Awesemo. Welcome to The Sweat, dude. Thanks for joining us today, and congrats on being named the sexiest DFS player alive.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I never thought this day would come to be honored with that title, but here we are.
And listen, you're one of the best DFS players in the world. Why the heck did it take you so long to win a Millie Maker, dude? What's wrong with you?
I know, that's what everyone has been saying. I've been trying. That hasn't been the problem. I just haven't been able to perform on primetime until now, so it feels great to get the monkey off my back.
Yeah, it's essentially like your profession here. Like, how close have you come in the past to these?
Yeah, I mean, I've come close in some of the showdown ones. I like those a lot. The tricky part is, like, you have to have a unique lineup to get the full 1 million. So I tied for first with 2 other people not too long ago. So that was pretty cool. It gave me a little bit of a taste, but getting that full solo win in a Millie Maker, that feels great.
Yeah, and I noticed on Twitter, you popped a little bottle of champagne there. Like, did it take a while to sink in because you've been waiting for this so long? Or was it like right away, like, oh my God, like we did it?
It was crazy because, like, at the start of the year, I'm like, what do I want to do with DFS this year? Like, I've done a lot. I haven't won $1 million prize. And then, like, boom, a day later, it hit. I'm like, shoot, now I need to figure something to focus my energy on. But it's pretty awesome. Popped some nice bottles. So it was a good time.
and you did this too without like Jamar Chase, who put up almost 60 fantasy points. Like he was just destroying the slate. So while you're watching him just score like touchdown after touchdown, almost like 300 yards receiving, are you thinking like, oh man, I didn't even put him in my lineup, like I'm an idiot?
Yeah, after the first set of games where Jamar Chase got in the 50s, I was like, I looked at my lineups, I'm like, damn, I don't have any with Jamar Chase. Like, time to start building some afternoon slate lineups. But then, like, somehow I check back and I'm in, like, 5th place in the Millie Maker, and I'm like, holy crap, how did this happen? And I had a bunch of PMR, too. So I was like, I didn't even realize it even had a chance, and then all of a sudden I'm about to win it. It was crazy.
What went into your decision to stack so many Seahawks? So Wilson, Lockett, Metcalf, Penny.
I think the main factor was they're facing the Detroit Lions, and not even with their starting QB, with their second string QB. I'm like, this could be a big day for Seattle if they get some turnovers in the red zone. Just absurd. The number of touchdowns was in the range of outcomes, and then I got really lucky, so it paid off.
I mean, give us some quick insight here to what makes you so successful at this, Alex, because we have a lot of new viewers this season here on Bally Sports Networks around the country. You do this professionally. How are you so successful at it?
Yeah, I think that there's some basic fundamentals that you got to follow. Obviously, you got to, make wise decisions with that salary that you have, the 50K. And then you got to follow all the kind of industry stuff. On my site, osmo.com, we have projections, ownership to help you win these. But then after you make your lineup and it's solid, it's kind of up to the football players to go out there and perform. Hadn't happened for me that much over the first 16 weeks, but I guess 17 is my lucky number.
All right, so what are the chances that there is a win, a fantasy win that you've had in your career that's actually better than this, or is this now at the top?
This is definitely the best one I've had. The most fun though, I'd have to say it was about a year ago, and I had Ben Roethlisberger in an absurd amount of lineups. This was the playoffs where they're facing the Browns, and this was another one where I was like, oh my god, I'm totally dead, because they were down 40-10 at the half, and then they just had to keep throwing the ball, and Ben Roethlisberger, it was another mega stack I had. I had Claypool, I had Deontay Johnson and Ebron, I think, and then he just threw the ball a million times. They all got there because he had 500 yards, and I didn't win a Millie Maker, but I had a nice night. And then we celebrated again with some champagne and dancing to a little Hamilton, which was funny, but yeah.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, Alexander Baker. Well, congrats, dude. This also earns you a seat in our Tournament of Champions later this month. So another $1 million is on the line there. So good luck, and we hope to see you then, man. Congratulations again.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Well, don't forget you watching us right now on Bally Sports Network can become a millionaire on DraftKings this week by taking a shot at that top prize in our NFL $3 million fantasy football Millie contest. It only costs $20 per entry. Lineups lock at 1 o'clock, so hurry up. Get those entries in soon. Right meow. It's time to turn it back over to our in-house experts, Julian and Reed. They are standing by to talk some really cool promotions on the DK Sportsbook this week. Go ahead, Reed. The segment is timed out. Julian talks too much.
Emerson, thank you very much. We'll get into it really, really quickly. We see here that, like Julian mentioned, incentives, record breakers on the DK Sportsbook under DK Promotions. They mentioned T.J. Watt. Tyler Huntley has been sacked 15 times in, I believe, his 4 or 5 starts. So
that's not a bad one.
That's not a bad one at all. But I'm going to a pretty chalky one down here with Cooper Kupp, going over in 11.5 receptions at plus 380. But this one right here, this plus 160 is the one that I really, really like Cooper Kupp to go over 135.5 receiving yards. We know what he did last time against San Francisco. This is a game where San Francisco is down their starters in the secondary. I really like this one.
Can't argue with you. I was on Cooper Kupp last week. He didn't quite get there from a prop standpoint.
Yep.
But we know what the numbers are this week. It's exactly there. So, yeah, I wrote them both up in my best bets article. The matchup is there, and the incentive is there. So I played some of the plus 160. I also sprinkled on the plus 380, so I'm with you there. We already touched on Mark Andrews, so I don't have to get there. Plus 1,200, that's worth a sprinkle right there. I've played Jonathan Taylor's over on his standard rushing prop. 0.1 units. We're
Talk
talking
about it.
0.1 units on plus 3,000. You cash 3 units if he gets there. 266 is what he needs for 2K. Normally I wouldn't go there, but I have lived this every week for the last 2 years with Derrick Henry. He's needed over 200 yards, over 250 yards each week to either break a record or be the league's leading rusher. He lit my Nick Chubb 18-1 to lead the league in rushing ticket on fire 1 week. It's just worth a sprinkle. Play the prop on the yardage. Let's sprinkle there.
Yeah, but you mentioned it. The unit, that arithmetic gets you those 3 units if you're doing 0.1. Now let's go to incentive week. Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about this one with Steph Diggs, right? The over.
So I'll say, we did it off the top of the show. This is my best bet of the week anywhere, not just favorite in these specials. Best bet of the week, Diggs, 1.55 mil. For that.
Yeah, and the other one is Rob Gronkowski. You mentioned his incentives as well, over 6.5 receptions. While I like it, and Brady only needs 16 completions to lead or to have that record of completions in a single season, obviously in 18 weeks. This one, I'm going to throw a little bit of cold water on it. Okay. Carolina, 10th lowest in terms of allowing receptions to the opposing tight ends, just about 4.3 on average, and he didn't do that hot last time against this team. He's hit this number, I believe, twice since week 12, so it's a little bit fishy.
Including 7 for, or what was it?
Yeah,
he had over 100 yards, 7 for over 100 last week.
But again, you talk about $500,000, that's his boy, so I do like it, but a little bit cold water in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to take what you threw cold water on, dump a bunch of gas on it, and throw a match in and bet the over at plus 130.
Good.
Because Tom Brady is going to try and get Gronk not only $500,000 for that, another $500,000 for those 85 receiving yards, which you can get at plus 200. So just split them, play a little plus 130, play a little plus 200. That one's in the Gary V special for Gronk to go to 85 yards at plus 200. His prop is creeping up to like the mid to high 60s. Why not just go here?
Yeah, exactly. So again, under DK promotions on the DK Sportsbook, now we hand it back to Jessie Coffield.
All right, thank you, guys. We have plenty more to come here on The Sweat. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a former Super Bowl champion to talk more about Week 18 storylines. We'll also dive deeper into tonight's must-win matchup between the Raiders and Chargers, so stick around.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And today, new customers can bet $5 on their team to win. And if they do, you walk away with $200. Plus, new fantasy players can play free for your share of millions this season when you make your first deposit. Use promo code Hey everyone, welcome back to The Sweat on Bally Sports Networks. Check out the most up-to-date update about who's currently in the playoff picture ahead of the 1 o'clock kickoff today in the NFC. So Green Bay's locked that top spot up already while the rest of the teams kind of jockey for position. Just one wild card spot available over in that neck of the woods. There's 2 up for grabs in the AFC where the Chiefs are holding down the top seed, but a Titans win over the Texans today will launch them into the number 1 spot, securing a first-round bye. Still a lot to sort out on this Sunday of a historic Week 18. We are joined now by former New York Giants linebacker, Super Bowl champion, cancer survivor, current NFL and college football analyst, Mark Herzlich. Thanks for hanging with us, man. How are you?
Doing great. Getting ready for this last week of football. It's nice.
Yeah, right? We're usually talking like first round of the playoffs, but no, this is Week 18 this year. How do you feel about having the extra week of the regular season?
Well, as a fan now, I don't mind it. If I was playing still, I'd be like, okay, it's enough football already. Let's get on to the playoffs. But right now, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, more points, more bets, more fun. Like, we absolutely love it here. Which game on Sunday are you most looking forward to, Mark?
Yeah, I think every year I love watching Ravens-Steelers games. And this year, so much on the line for these teams. Potential of getting in with these wins. But just, I think I like the matchup. I think it's exciting. I also can't wait to see if T.J. Watt gets that sack record. Strahan has kind of held that in his own domain for a long time now. But with 1.5 sacks left to go, you never know. Could get there.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's a lot of big-time records that are kind of up for grabs, up to be broken here. What about in the land of fantasy? Do you expect a player to go off today? Do you expect someone to put up some big-time points?
Well, in that same game, I kind of am looking for Naji Harris. He has, again, be going against the number 1 rush defense in the league. However, I think he's just been playing better and better. He had 88 yards versus them a few weeks ago. So I like Naji Harris, and I also have him on my fantasy team, so that's another reason why I like him.
Yeah, we feel it.
Yeah, and also Cooper Kupp, like he could get that trifecta of leading the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. So those 2 guys have had great years, and I think they're going to do well again today.
Yeah,
today.
Yeah, and with a couple of those records too that like Kupp is nearing right now. He said that there should be like an asterisk. Like it's a little different now that there's a Week 18. Like, do you agree with that? Should there be an asterisk? It's not like the guys are cheating or anything. It's just it's a new era in the NFL.
Well, I mean, I think that as we see more and more of those records be broken, it's just the knowledge that okay, this happened, post CBA, right? This happened there where there was a lot of contracts talked about with the last CBA back in 2010 where, okay, yeah, he's making this much money, but it was post-CBA or it was pre-CBA, right? It's a different qualifier. And so now with 18 games, you get more opportunities. We saw that a lot in college football over the past, 7, 8, 9, 10 years where you're playing more games, you get more opportunities, and guys are breaking a lot more records.
Yeah, and one team that we know will not be breaking any records today, your former team, because we're looking here, Mark, as like a 5th straight losing season. I believe they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. You had Joe Judge, who went on that big-time rant this week that kind of went viral on Twitter, saying this ain't no clown show organization. So what is this team missing here that can help them get back to the playoffs?
I mean, there's a lot that they're missing. I mean, you don't lose this many games in a row in this many seasons and feel like, okay, there's one thing that needs to change. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to change. And I mean, I was a part of those teams before this, big losing streak, and then a part of the very end of it, and or very start of losing streak, very end of my career. But there was a change in the general manager position that I don't know, hasn't played out the way that they wanted to make it play out. So whether it's if you want wholesale changes or you want big changes, you need to start up top at leadership. And so I think that's a place to look at and really say, has this guy or have these people done the best that they can do for this organization, or is it time to go somewhere else?
Yeah, well, they've got some big decisions to make here too, because it's likely the Giants are going to have 2 top 10 picks. Like, do you believe specific players, certain players should be on their radar, or really any team's radar that's going to be picking in the top 10? Because I know you've been all on top of the college football landscape.
Well, I think that there's a lot of really good players in the college football realm. I think that, if you want defensive linemen, I think defense has been a big problem for the Giants, and while they have gotten better, and while their numbers show a little better, there's not a whole lot of dominance displayed by them. So, Alabama's got Georgia's got some big D linemen who are really good. Do you go there? Do you try to get an edge rusher out of Oregon? Maybe. But I think they've tried to shore up their offensive line for a very long time. They've continuously gone to the draft for that. I don't know. I just think there might need to be another guy who's making those decisions on who to draft, because there are guys out there, and it just feels like there have been lots of these high draft picks for the Giants over the past 4 or 5 years. And whether they haven't gotten enough people around them to support them, or they haven't been the right fits for this team, there have been issues. And I don't know exactly what those have been, but there have been issues.
Yeah, tons of studs to choose from coming out of Bama and Georgia. I feel like it's just every year those teams are reloading. And what do you know? Those are the two teams here who just clashed in the SEC championship game, going to be meeting in the national championship game now tomorrow night. Do you expect this one to play out a little different than the last time they met when Alabama upset Georgia?
I like Georgia in this game, but I also, I'd never. It's tough to bet against Alabama. If I was gonna put money on the game, I would probably say that I like Georgia in this one. I like when teams are relatively evenly matched and the defense can lead the way. I think that Georgia's defense is that good. I think they're really that good. And I think offensively they've found explosive plays when they need to. And it's the type of game that can really early in the game, you get 1 or 2 big stops on defense. It can really change the tide of the game because we know both teams can score fast. And it's just going to be exciting. And, people might not want to see this game again. However, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the two best teams in college football playing, and that's what's supposed to happen at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think people are kind of getting a little tired of seeing the same teams on this stage, Mark, year in and year out. Usually Ohio State is in there as well, which kind of brings me to my last question for you. You think the playoffs should be expanded here? There's already some chatter about it, going from 4 to potentially 6 or 8.
Yeah, I do like it going a little bit farther. I think that you probably end up with the same result at the very end, where you will get the two best teams. And honestly, I kind of would like to see, I don't even know exactly how to do it, but maybe a recruiting cap where, you can only get a certain number of 4 or 5-star guys, because I think one of the problems is, and it's a good problem, I guess, for these schools who can get those guys, is that you have better players, and that just takes place a lot of times in college football. And you don't want to limit where a kid can go to school, because that's their future and their education and everything like that. But I think there's a way to make this a little bit more even, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily on the back end in the playoffs, right? Give people shots in the back end. It's more so in the front end. How can we level the playing field a little bit? Because with NIL deals, with the way that things are going in college football, if you go to Alabama, you're probably going to make 6 figures as a rookie or a freshman, and then you're going to also win a national championship. That's kind of the way it's going right now, and good for Nick Saban and good for the Alabama community. But I think for the sport of college football, if you don't want to have the haves and the have-nots, you got to adjust a little bit in the front end.
Yeah, definitely feels like there is a large gap there between some of the top dogs and then middle of the pack, and then all the peasants there at the bottom just trying to eat.
Yep. And it's not like there's bad football, but it's just a different level. It's just a different level at the top, and it's tough to compete with.
Yeah, true. And it was one of the craziest college football seasons in recent memory. And again, we're looking at 2 of the top teams standing that we've been used to seeing for years and years. Mark Herzlich, it was great catching up with you, man. Keep crushing it, and thanks for hanging with us here at DraftKings.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.
Okay, so a big game on Monday, but it's time to focus a little more on what will be the final game of the regular season, a win and in scenario between the Raiders and Chargers. Welcome back to Jeff and Pierce. Let's talk about who you're putting in the captain spot. Jeff, you're living on the edge and going with Darren Waller at 9,200. He's questionable and going to be a game time decision, but this is a win and in, so you're banking on him going.
Yeah, I mean, and there's already some reports that like he's most likely going to play here. So I actually don't think there's too much risk. The risk comes in game, obviously. How healthy is he? Is he going to be able to push through? It's Darren Waller. The guy's a plus athlete, and realistically, like if the Raiders are going to win this game, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to need a big game from Darren Waller. This setup is just too good to ignore here too. The Raiders come in as, you know, 3-point underdogs here. And they're going up against the Chargers, who are pretty much the worst team against guarding against opposing tight ends, if not the worst, like the second worst. They've allowed the most yards to opposing tight ends. They've allowed 12 touchdowns in the position as well. I think Darren Waller comes in here and he just gets peppered with targets, because I know Hunter Renfrow has been great, and he's definitely going to be a factor in this game, but I think the Raiders are going to have to throw the ball here to win, because the Chargers offense, quite frankly, will get their points. I think it's a great spot to deploy Waller. Buy into the fear from other people with that Q tag and take your shot, because I think you're going to see Darren Waller push for 10-plus targets today, or tomorrow. Tonight.
Pierce, whenever this game is. It's this evening. Pierce, you're playing it safe and going with the most expensive option, Austin Eckler at 17,400 in the captain spot.
Yeah, it's safe. It's cowardly, but it's the big game. You play the big players in the big game. And he's got a solid rushing floor, although I don't expect him to have a big rushing game. But the receiving ceiling against the Raiders is tremendous. We know that he gets all of the red zone carries. The offensive line's healthy. One of the big things is Corey Linsley is going to play. He's the center that anchors that offensive line that's improved from one of the worst in the league last season to slightly above average. And I would imagine Eckler is going to have help get this team into the playoffs tonight.
All right, talk to me about value, Pierce. You like a guy who checks notes, racked up just over 3 fantasy points last week.
Yeah. Well, that's the story. When we go to these showdown plays, we're taking a lot of risk. You wouldn't take this risk on a main slate, but you got to do it on a showdown, especially if you want to captain a guy like Austin Eckler. And Jalen Guyton is that guy. Yes, his last 2 games, he hasn't really scored a lot of points. He's had some tough matchups. Denver has a good secondary. Kansas City has a good defense as well. But he has found the end zone in 3 of the last 4 games, and that's really what we chase with these value plays. They are high risk, low probability, but if you find a touchdown, which Guyton has been doing, then you're good. You can also get big plays, and Guyton has been a big play receiver this season. So not only does he have the touchdown upside, but even if he doesn't find the end zone, he could haul in one of those 50-yard passes and help your lineups.
All right, Jeff, you're chasing Justin Jackson for some value.
Yeah, I do think if you're looking for value plays, you should be going to the Chargers side. I just think they have the bigger implied team total, but they also have more cast of characters like a Justin Jackson who can contribute here, and they're cheap. I mean, you look at Jackson, clearly the team is buying in to what he's selling. I mean, obviously the game, where Eckler missed, he had a massive output, 8 catches, 98 yards, but the last 3 games, he's had 11 or more carries. He's running quite well behind this offensive line, and I think this is a big factor here. The Chargers are on the road. I think they're going to be looking to take advantage of their offensive line, which is really good at opening holes. Eckler and Jackson both averaging over 5 yards per carry, but Jackson is the better between the tackles runner, I think, of the two, and I think he's going to get work here. At this price tag, I think Justin Jackson at 5,200 is a guy with how this game could work out with just a few more rushes that I think has a very good chance of paying off at only 5,200 in showdowns.
All right, you two are in agreement on this. You both think the Chargers will cover. They're favored by 3 points. Jeff, tell us why.
Yeah, realistically, I think this line is set fairly right, but the Chargers, to me, are still the better team here. And, there's a little bit of worry. They're 0-2 against the spread covering as away favorites this year, but they're also 4-3 covering on the road. And, if we think the Chargers are going to win this game, there's just more scenarios where they win by 3 or more. I mean, I think that there's a good chance that this game ends up being like a 1-score decided game. But at 3 points, it's a line where, yes, it's appropriate, but even if it pushes, it's not the end of the world here. So do I really want to trust the Chargers in this spot? Not necessarily, but you look at the Raiders team, they're going to be relying probably on a guy like Darren Waller, who's banged up, hasn't played in a few weeks. It just seems like a bit of a road too far. Also, you have the Raiders, a team probably a little bit deflated after a big win last week, going out there and getting the W for John Madden. I feel like the Chargers are the better team, and you should be trusting them here. And at 3 points, and again, this is an important number, I think you go with the Chargers here because I think you're going to get a one-score victory, but there's a better chance that they end up, winning by 4 or 7 or something. So to me, the Chargers are the side here, but this one is pretty close.
Pierce, anything to add?
Yeah, Chargers are my Super Bowl team, so I'm going to roll with them to cover here. They're the better team. Why have they, performed poorly this season? Because their offense has been inconsistent. Well, their offense has been consistent over their last couple games. They should easily cover this.
All right, guys, thank you. That's it for us. We're minutes away from kickoff, and we have 3 guys here in studio working up a sweat so you don't have to. Emerson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Great work today, by the way. Really good work.
Yeah, we're doing the clapping again.
Yeah, we are. We got to help her out here.
Okay.
Last minute DFS stakes for this Sunday slate. What's cooking in that big beefy brain of yours, Reed?
Did you write that? Because
Yeah.
it's pretty beefy.
Jesse
The
wrote that
hair
one.
hasn't been cut, but I appreciate that. What I'm worried about is you see a lot of these games, we talked about it in our earlier show as well, that you're going to have to worry, you're going to have to watch these games, and betting the totals is a little shaky, so you're going to have to see kind of how things shake out. There's a lot of implications, like for instance, San Francisco and the 49ers and the Rams game, if the Rams are absolutely throttling the 49ers, the Cardinals can't do anything to improve their situation in the playoffs. So if they know that coming into the second half, they might sit guys like Kyler, like Connor, who's coming in questionable, and just rest those guys for the playoffs, which means that it's hard to trust any Cardinals or even the over in that type of game on both sides of that ball. But some people like Seattle and Arizona go over that game total, but we might get a second half where it's basically the second stringers in Arizona.
Jules, what are some things you may be rethinking before lock?
I mean, from a lineup perspective, it's week 18, so just go for it. Like if you have whatever you use to normally do this, if you have a hunch, just go for the hunch because anything can happen. Use the incentives, as we've been talking about, I'll show to your advantage. And I know this is DFS, but from a sports betting perspective, live betting, like if the Packers play everybody, go up 14-0, bench all the starters. The Lions want to end their season with a win, have a good taste in their mouths. Like, go with the Lions when they're down. Like, just pay attention to what's going on, guys getting pulled, totals, sides. Getting on live lines in Week 18 can be an extreme edge.
Yeah. Those guys love playing for Dan Campbell there, too, in Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
They love him. They respect
Probably
him.
safe after, 2 wins, potentially 3, and he's safe. You usually don't see that.
Let's make it rain here, guys. Hook us up with a DFS play that is absolutely going to make it rain cash for our viewers at home. Go ahead, Jules.
It's the obvious one, but it's Jonathan Taylor. And maybe I'm being, talking about things that have happened to me in the past. Derrick Henry costing me money by having 250-yard games in the last game of the season. If the Colts want to get Jonathan Taylor to 2,000 yards, I believe they can do it.
All right, well, again, the Jags are able to win and could be absolute chaos in the AFC playoff.
Yeah, I mean, they're not.
Taylor could have a great game and the Jags could still win. Just something,
That's a heck of a
to
take.
keep in mind. Hey,
Heck of a hot take.
hey.
Do the hot take thing.
All right, all right, go ahead.
Dalvin Cook, $7,800.
Or not.
This is in the same position group as Jonathan Taylor. A lot of that ownership is going to go up there because of what Julian talked about. And Cook hasn't been that guy. So in terms of the ownership, the price, the spot that he's in, he could have a big one.
So 11 catches for Kupp today, and he will tie the regular season record in receptions. And then what does he need? 135 receiving yards to tie that. And there's a great
Tying is for losers. Give
There's
him
a
one
great
more
bet,
yard and a
though,
goal.
on DK Sportsbook. A little promo bet for that. If you guys wanna
Promo
get on
tab.
that.
Get there.
All right, guys, that's a show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you back here.